Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank God it's Friday. Thank you so much for joining us for tonight's edition of HR Mentorship Learning Series. My name is Uliyemi Adeosun. Tonight we'll be looking at a very special topic, HR from the heart. Let's move from talkers to doers. Our facilitator, I'm excited, delighted, elated to have for the very first time on this platform, Adediran Mayowa Mike, who has been a long-time member. I would like to read his profile. Mayowa Adediran is a certified and dedicated human resource professional with nearly a decade of services and real estate sectors. His career demonstrates a strong foundation in HR administration and employee services, evolving into specialized roles in vendor management and strategic wellness initiative. He's an alumnus of the prestigious Yaba College of Technology, where he studied computer science and also holds a postgraduate degree in business administration from the Ajayi Crowther University. He also has a track record of developing and implementing effective HR programs that enhance employee well-being, ensure regulatory compliance, and also improve operational efficiencies. Part of his key accomplishments include significantly registration rates, drafting and revamping key wellness programs that support the LD is certified, is an associate HRI certified with the Human Resources to us tonight on the topic HR from the heart. Let's welcome Mayowa Adediran. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you very much. He's my mentor. He has been of immense help to me. He has come through for me. I've invited him to my space a couple of times. I appreciate the grace of God upon your life and then your humility. And I also want to seize this opportunity to thank the leadership of HR Mentorship Platform for this invaluable opportunity to do this tonight. I do not take it for granted. Yeah, so before we dive into today's business, right? I dropped something on the chat box. Please confirm that you can hear me and that you can see my screen.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
So I dropped a little exercise that I want us to quickly do in 2 to 5 minutes here. Please, if you can answer that question, if you wouldn't mind to unmute, please unmute, or if you want to drop your question on the chat box, you can also drop it there. Doctor, you would help me read. Peradventure, there is anyone dropping comments on the chat box. So we have about 2 to 5 minutes to do that. So the question is, as an HR professional, what is one thing I talk about often, but haven't fully implemented? So let's be free. It's just another opportunity for us to learn anyways. So I would like to have our responses before I proceed. Thank you very much. Let's do that quickly. Let's do that quickly. Thank you.
So if anybody would like to speak, you need to raise your hands so we can unmute you. People cannot unmute by default.
Thank you very much, sir. I would like to see who will bail the cat. I know HR.
So the question again, while we wait. As an HR professional, mention one thing you talk about often, but haven't fully implemented. That's the question again. So
thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
So maybe you keep engaging while the response keep coming.
Keep coming. All right. Thank you very much. So I'll take it away. Our discussion tonight will be centered on these 4 pillars. We have a response.
Lolade's hands are up. Just a minute, sir.
Okay.
I see Lolade's hands up. I think she would like to say something. I see Lolade.
Okay, Lolade, please help us unmute Lolade. Let's hear from Lolade.
So Lolade, you can...
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Okay. Actually,
good
we have
evening.
I laughed when I saw
She
the
has dropped
question.
a
Yeah, for me, I think the
comment.
number one
Ichechi
is
mentioned
performance
policies.
management. Hello.
Yes, Lolade, we can hear you.
Okay, I said when I saw your question, I just laughed. For me,
Ichechi
one
mentioned
thing is performance
that
management.
policies
Hello, Doc. Lolade is still speaking. I don't know if you would want her to conclude
are
before
things
you
she has
the
not been
other
able to
comments.
implement.
Okay,
She
so
said the number is performance management. Performance management.
okay, thank you very much. Do we have yes, I got that. Do we have any other response? Okay, so we can keep dropping our responses. I would continue to engage, right? So this session is just about bridging the gap, right? Turning our well-meaning conversations into meaningful actions, right? And that is that about HR from the heart. So I was saying previously before the interruption that tonight's conversation will be centered on these four pillars, right? The first pillar is the talk, where we often are. The perception that our people, the business, our employees, the management have about HR, right? The perception gap in HR. What do they think about us? Who do they think we are, right? And who we truly are, or who we are supposed to be, the things that we're supposed to do, right? Number two is the art, the mindset shift. What does it mean to lead with empathy and purpose, right? We'll be talking about that further after now. The third pillar is the actionable strategies, because if we have gathered this evening to talk about this, talk about the issues, right, without profiling solutions, without exposing the things that we can do, actionable items to move from just being talkers to doers, then we would have failed, right? So, and the fourth pillar is our commitment from ideas to impact, which is defining our four steps together. So someone said that the best way to get something done is to start from where you are, right? And if you always procrastinate, you eventually see that you're unable to actually get anything done. So I'll move further. HR is often seen as the policy police focused on enforcement. Yes or yes. That is how some people see us. In fact, I know that in some organizations in 2025, some employees or even employees cannot freely walk into the HR office. Some HRs still don't operate an open office because the employees see them as police, right? And you know how the average Nigerian become apprehensive when you see the Nigerian police force, apologies to them, wielding their guns when there is no armed robber in sight, anyways, when there is no crime scene, right? And this is the way some people still see some HR. They feel that we are only focused on enforcement, right? But as we go through this journey together, you see some interesting things, right? Secondly, some people still see us as the administrative gatekeeper buried in paperwork, right? It would be unfortunate if you are in this room or on this call tonight and in your office, HR is still being seen as the administrative gatekeeper, because such not earn a seat at the boardroom, right? And it's just sad, right? Because HR has evolved from just being an administrative function to a strategic function, right? So HR people should be basically business people too. So if you're on this call and then you are just buried in your HR jargon, your HR work, you don't want to know about business, well, maybe you need to have a rethink. Because if you truly do not know your business, there is no way you can actually support that business to succeed, right? Then the third point here is, are we known as a reactive function, not a strategic partner, right? So These are the gaps. Up until now, some people see HR as a reactive function and not a strategic partner. And that is not who we are, really, right? I hope I'm still audible. I hope I'm not speaking to myself. Can we still hear me?
We are fine, sir. We are
All
fine.
right,
Don't
thank you.
bother. We are fine, sir. No issues.
Okay, so this creates a gap between HR's intent and employee experience. So all of these three things mentioned here actually create a gap between the intention we have for our employees, for the business, for the organization, and the actual experience that our people get from us, right? So the quick question is that, are we known for what we say about culture or for what we do to create it? Maybe before we proceed, can someone just, maybe by unmuting or dropping a comment in the chat box, please, Doc, you help me here. Tell us briefly what you understand by culture before we proceed. Culture, when you hear culture, what comes to your mind? Do we have anyone who is willing to speak to us or who wants to drop a comment before we proceed? Culture. Anyone?
Someone dropped a comment.
Okay, please help me read it.
Folani says how we do things here.
Culture is how we do things here. Wow.
Then Idowu Uzen says way we do things in the organization.
Way we do
Then
things.
Oluwa Bemileke says culture refers to the shared beliefs, values, customs, artifacts that characterize group of people or society. It shapes how people talk, think, act, interact with one another. Oluwa Bemileke, you sound like ChatGPT.
I guess that's like a professor here. Well, thank you very much for the responses we got. Thank you very much. Basically, I can decipher that all of the people who have spoken, especially the first two people who dropped the comments, actually spoke in line with their reality, right? Culture is basically what we permit. And then when we say A and then we do B, right? That means there's a problem with culture, right? Okay, so let's proceed. What is HR from the art? So we'll start from the left side of my screen. We'll discuss about what is not before we go to what it is actually. So HR is not being soft or abandoning metrics. HR is not being nonchalant about the key drivers of our business, how the business makes money, the things that actually makes our business succeed. HR is not being careless about that, right? HR is actually a strategic approach that puts people at the center of every process. I'll take that again. It's a strategic approach that puts people at the center of every process, right? It's the fusion of empathy and data. I remember back then in secondary school, while we were being taught economics, right? At some point, we were taught about ends as scarce means, resources, the law of diminishing returns, all of those things. And then it got to a point where they were talking to us about joint and complementary goods, right? And I remember my teacher then mentioned that joint and complementary goods are goods that will not get satisfaction from without the other. So for instance, for bread and beans lovers, you know that if you are eating your bread alone and you are not complementing it with beans, you will not get that utmost satisfaction that you're supposed to get from that meal, right? So in the same vein here, what HR is the fusion of empathy and data. Yes, we want to deal with our people with empathy. However, we also need to blend that with available data, right? For instance, we want to look at our leave analysis to see the prevalent issues that our employees report to the organizations when they are going on leave, maybe medical leave. And you want to see what you can actually make of that data, right? And then how you can actually empower or support the employee better. I'll speak more about this as we move on in this class, right? The next point here says that purpose and profit. So HR is supporting the business, not just to achieve its purpose alone without making profits. Because if the organization is going to achieve its purpose continually, it has to make profits too. Because if the organization is not making profits, there will be nowhere to earn our next paycheck from. So we have to know how to balance both, right? The next one, compliance and compassion. Yes, it is pertinent for us to have frameworks, ethics, guidelines that regiments the action and conduct of employee or of a business, right? However, we need to blend that with compassion, understanding that the humans in our organizations are the ones that actually powers the system. Without those humans, right, the organization cannot function. And it is our people that make the organization. And if our people are not actually happy, the organization can be happy. So we can see how we moved from empathy and data, purpose and profit, to compliance and compassion. All of these three key drivers should be efficiently blended, and this is what HR is about, right? I hope we're still together. And the goal of HR basically is to build trust and create an environment where people can do their best work, which will translate into living their best life. And if you would agree with me, if you look at the great place to work of this world, you would see, if you take a deep dive into their ecosystem, you will find these three ingredients accurately blended, right? Because when employees are actually happy doing what they do, and then they know what is in it for them, being a member of the organization, they actually come to the organization every day, bumping with energy, looking for more problems to solve. Because in solving all of those problems, the organization is making money, rewarding the employee, supporting the career of the employee, and then the business is sustainable, right? Are we still together?
Please continue, sir. Please
Yes,
continue.
Prof, I need help here. My slide stopped moving. Okay. Okay, it just moved. All right. Thank you. So we are on the business case. Why art is a smart business, right? I attended a mental health conference sometime last month here, and one of the speakers mentioned something that resonated well with me. He said that most organizations often treat wellness of their employees as a cost center, but they should rather see wellness of their employees as investing in the wellness of their employees as a smart business rather than seeing it as a cost center. And that resonated well with me, because truly, if we make substantial investments towards the wellness of our employees, right? Wellness is holistic, right? Those employees will be able to give more to the organization. So it's a win-win situation, right? And then which brings me to the 4 ingredients I'll be talking about on this slide. So we can see from the left side, retention. Companies with high trust cultures have 50% lower turnover, as according to Great Place to Work, right? I believe you would all agree with me, because if the employees of your organization cannot trust the organization, you'll be sure that they will be disengaged, and attrition in that organization will be very high. And then at every point in time, there will be, what's the word now? There will be disruption in the flow with which things happen in the organization. For instance, you have high performers who are consistently leaving the organization. It will definitely affect productivity. It would affect even the business outcomes of the organization, right? The next thing here is attraction. Glassdoor says that 77% of workers consider a company's culture before applying. I know many of us here will have done it before. When you're at the talking stage, you're at the stage where you're being interviewed by an organization before they issue you an offer. I'm sure that smart ones amongst us would actually go to their LinkedIn page, speak to one or two employees who are working with that organization currently, or even go to Glassdoor just to see a review of what people are saying about that organization, right? The next thing here is productivity. Productivity speaks to engaged employees. And Gallup is saying that engaged employees are 17% more productive and show 21% greater profitability. Yes, we know that disengaged employees are like flat tires for any organization. With disengaged employees, the organization would move nowhere. In fact, the organization would have stunted growth, right? So retention, attraction, productivity, and the last thing here is bottom line. HR, at-led HR isn't a nice to have. It's a direct driver of business performance and resilience, right? The business case, why art is a smart business, why HR from the art is actually pertinent, right? Is that we would have high retention, we would attract the best kind of employees. Our employees will be productive, and our bottom line will continually grow, right? If these key drivers are present in every organization, there's no way the organization will not succeed and remain sustainable, right? This leads us to the Doers framework, and I would want to dwell more on this part of the presentation, right? The Doers framework is talking about moving from talk to action. So as a Nigerian, I interact with people a lot, and it will only take me maybe 1 to 2 minutes after my interaction with you to actually discern your values, to know your mindset and disposition about things. Yeah. And I know that from my 3 decades plus on earth, I've seen people who talk more than they do, and it's always cringeworthy. And I found out that the problem with these people is not knowledge. Actually, these are knowledgeable people. They actually know the right thing to do. However, they are always found one thing with regards to implementation of the things that they know. In fact, many people are on the quest to acquire more knowledge, even when they had barely implemented the last knowledge they acquired, right? And I kept asking myself, why will someone know something and will decide not to implement it? And the answer I got was that our personal sentiments and benefits is sometimes responsible for our inability to implement the things that we know. For some people, it might be the environment stifling their ability to implement. That is also valid, right? However, in this session, we'll be able to help ourselves to actually see how we can move from just talk or talking to action, right? And the first thing here, point A here, says that we should, as HR, begin to recruit with authenticity. I'll speak more about what this means, but let me quickly share this experience. I remember sometime in 2016 or 2017, if my memory serves me right, I applied for GT with Royal Dutch Shell, right? Royal Dutch Shell. And I remember that the process was virtual. They used IRView for the interview process. We were supposed to record a 2-minute video answering all of the questions on why each candidate feels that they are the best fit for the job. I did all of that. And then I wasn't employed. However, I remember that experience till date because of the experience I got from that process, right? The feedback that was given to me at the final stage made me jubilate. I was dancing. I didn't get the job, but I was actually dancing. And you know what that means? Because they broke down all of the things that I've done. They mentioned what I did well. They mentioned the things that I could do better. And then they also gave me quality feedback that would make me actually scale other opportunities, right? And this forms part of recruiting with authenticity. Is about telling a story with our recruitments. So let me quickly peep into my notes. So when we are recruiting with authenticity, it's not the usual posting job adverts and then making applicants feel like we're actually doing them a favor for applying for available vacancies in our organizations. No, that's not it, right? It is about replacing the sales pitch with a true story, right? But we'll talk about all of these points further. Option B says develop with purpose. So you are not just stopping. So you can see that all of this is talking about the entire life cycle of the employees we bring into our organization as HR people, right? You are not just bringing the employees and then dumping them. Even right from the point of interview, you're having honest conversations about their career, about the options available for their development in the organization. You are talking to them about the pay structures, about the perks that are available. You are telling them that their growth actually matters to you as much as it matters to them as individuals. We are treating each employee as individuals. We are not deploying one-size-fits-all approach to development of our employees. C is talking about listening with intent, and then D is talking about supporting these employees with empathy. I'll speak further on this, right? So they do, number one, recruiting with authenticity. So we are moving from being transactional. Talkers are transactional. You don't tell employees things like we're a family here. That's vague, because really, people who come to work in our organization, they are not our family. So let's speak the truth. Let's not try to, what's the word now? Deceive people by saying we are family. We're actually not family. We are not family. Focusing only on skills and years of experience, right? These are very important, but they shouldn't be our area of focus alone, right? What about our hiring process? Do we not have 4, 5, 6 meaningless stages that is just wasting employees' time? Because the danger of having too long hiring process is that while you are toying with that talent, another organization that has an efficient recruitment process, shorter recruitment time to fill period, will actually pick up that talent. And then the next thing you see is that the employee goes, even after they've picked up your offer, right? So we are saying that we should move from being transactional to become authentic. Let's move from just talking to doing, right? And how to be authentic, you show. You don't just tell people, you show them what you're actually talking about. You use real employee stories in job posts, just like my experience with Royal Dutch Shell. The way they sent me the regret email, I was jubilating, but it was a regret email, right? We hire for potential, attitude, and cultural addition, not just fit. So we're not just doing the BAU. Okay, we've posted adverts, employees have applied, we've screened their CVs, and then we've brought them to a panel, they've discussed, we've deployed CBI, blah, 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 blah. Yes, beautiful. However, are we looking out for the soft skills that these employees are actually bringing on board? Does this soft skill actually align with our organizational values, right? These are the things that actually make us authentic as HC people, as recruiters. Are we creating a candidate experience that is respectful? Because I've seen myriad of experiences of applicants online where an applicant will come to an organization, right? He has applied for a role, and then they have waited for 5 to 6 hours productive time wasting because they actually want, their only crime is that they've applied for a role in your organization. So you don't respect their time. You make them wait unnecessarily. Nobody's even talking to them to know how long they are going to wait, to know why they are waiting. Even while they are waiting, nobody's offering them anything to just even help them feel relaxed, right? That actually needs to stop. We need to treat candidates with respect, right? If we don't need them, we would not post the job adverts. So when they come, let's actually see them and treat them as future customers. Yes, we should be respectful, we should be communicative. And when we are communicating, not just communicating, we should be effective in our communication with courtesy. And we should be fast about it. If this is the first stage, after the first stage, we should provide feedback and let them know the next steps, right? Let them know how many stages they are going to pass through from the point of application so that they know, they prepare their minds. If they are willing to wait for all of those stages, they would know. And if they are not going to wait, they would move on to the next company, right? We should actually treat applicants like future customers. For every brand, right, we want repeat customers. So if we want repeat customers, we should also see our applicants. We should treat them as future customers because basically for HC people, our customers are the people that we bring into the organization, right? The number two, that is speaking to develop with purpose, right? From talker, one size fits all. Gone are the days where we use a one size fits all approach. It's actually a lazy approach to doing things. It's a lazy approach to doing things. We should not be doing that in 2025. We invest in our people. You are telling an applicant or an employee, maybe after receiving your offer, during onboarding, telling the employee that we invest in our people. Yes, beautiful. What investment? How about being specific? Mandatory generic training modules. For some people in the organization, the training modules that they are currently using are training modules that were developed years ago. No one has thought about actually reviewing and revamping those modules to meet current realities and even future needs. We actually need to stop this, right? Career paths are unclear or non-existent. We are bringing employee and then throwing them into ambiguity. They don't even know what to do. They don't know where to go. They don't even know what is the need for them as being part of your organization. They don't know. And in all of this, employees would actually be looking for a way out. So we'll be increasing our attrition rate if we are doing this. However, when we move from this to Doers, which is more purpose-driven, we create personalized development plans aligned with individual aspirations and business goals, right? We marry them together. We create an intersection between our employees' aspiration and our business goals, right? For instance, if our business goal is to become the top financial institution in the next 2 years, right? And we bring in our employees and then we ask them that, okay, what are your career aspirations? What are your career goals? And they mention them, right? We look for blended training and development programs that would help them achieve that goal which they've set for themselves. Because in doing that, they would be able to contribute meaningfully to our own business goals. So it's a win-win. Some people will say, what if after developing the employee goes? Yes, employees will leave and employees will come. However, the employees that you have invested in, even when they leave, they become ambassadors of the organization. They can actually refer their family and friends to your organization. So in the long run, it's not a wasted investment. In the interim, you might think you have wasted money because, okay, that employee, that performer spent just 2-3 years with your organization and he or she has left. But while he or she is leaving, he or she can actually refer a friend to fill in the role that they're going to be leaving. So we can see that no investment that we've made into our employees is actually a waste because it actually adds to our employer branding. It adds to our EVP, employer value proposition. We implement mentorship programs and encourage internal mobility. Implement mentorship programs and encourage internal mobilities. For some employees, they want to broaden their horizon in different aspects of the business. The only way or one of the ways we can actually help them achieve this is to encourage internal mobility. They can go on job shadowing to the departments that they would want to learn about for some periods, right? While they are still doing their current job, right? You see that in plugging into this, the employee is actually happy, bursting with energy, and then living their best life while doing their best work. They are contributing to the growth of the organization because they know that this organization is actually interested in their growth, and they are meticulously bringing in initiatives that is actually helping them to grow, right? And in the long run, it's a win-win for everybody. Then there's an action plan I placed here, right? For this to happen, we need to train managers to have meaningful career conversations with employees. For this to happen, we need to train managers to have meaningful career conversations with employees. We need to let our managers understand that they are the first level of HR in the organization. It is only when they've tried all that is expected of them as the organization has empowered them to do, and they are not getting results, that is when they can actually escalate issues to HR. Because if you keep bringing every issue that involves the manager and the employee to HR, you'd actually be distracting HR from focusing on strategic business initiatives, right? So for instance, an employee comes late. You as a manager, you should be able to address that. The first question you need to ask is there a pattern of lateness? If it is a one-off, you just need to have a conversation with the employee. Why did you come late? If the employee's excuse is tenable, or the employee didn't even inform you before coming late, you can actually just have a conversation and then let the person know that you will not want this to happen again. But if it becomes a pattern, you can actually query the employee and copy HR, right? Not at the first instance, the employee is coming late and you're already dragging in HR, right? So this is the reasons why, one of the reasons why managers need to be trained, so that they also understand how they plug into the big picture for the organization. And then they don't stop, and they don't keep bringing issues that they can actually handle to each other. I hope we are still together. Can you still hear me? Doc, I hope I'm not speaking to myself. Hello? Hello, can anyone hear me? Doc, are you still there? Can anyone hear me? Okay, I can see a response in the chat box. All right, so I proceed. The number 3 is support with empathy. From talker, policy first. Yes, you know, at the beginning of this session, I mentioned that one of the gaps in perception that people have about HR is that they think that we are police who only enforce policies, right? So this part is addressing that from talker, policy first. Yes, it is good to have policies because for every association of human beings, we need guidelines so that people do not misbehave or do things anyhow, so that we actually have a way to regulate people's conduct. Yeah. So from talker, you say our door is always open. Yes, be beautiful. The people know that your door is always open, but when they come to you, do you actually listen to them? Are we really listening to our employees? And many times employees are communicating, but we don't even know that they are speaking, right? Our policy is not rigid, with no room for life's complexities. We know that the way things are in 2010 is not the way things are now. The age brackets that we have in the workplace in 2010 is not the kind of age brackets we have now. So things are more complex now. So does our policy actually give room for these complexities? Do we actually make allowance, right? Managers who manage tasks. Do we not bring managers who manage tasks and not people? right? Our managers need to have a high level of emotional intelligence. They need to be people managers to succeed. If they don't know how to manage people, and a manager who has not even managed his own self cannot manage people effectively. So we need to move from this side to thinking about people first. If we want to make any change in the organization today, we should always think about how it affects our people. Because if we don't think about that, eventually we might think what we are doing is helping the people, but it might not be what they actually need. So the first point here is implement flexible work arrangements that trusts employees. So for organizations that have flexible work arrangements, that has only become possible because we've trusted our employees to an extent that whether anyone is watching or not, they will actually do their job. Because if you don't trust employees, you cannot approve an employee to work remotely. Because you can actually be bothered about what if this employee just abandon the task and just go and sleep. So to have flexible work arrangements, they need to be a high level of trust from the company to the employees and the employees to the company, right? We need to equip managers with training on mental health awareness. Mental health awareness is a conversation that we really need to start having, right? Because many people are actually working in the organization with issues that no one actually knows. We might actually think they are deliberately sabotaging the efforts of team members or the organization, but then they actually need help. For instance, maybe there's an high performer who suddenly starts performing low, becomes withdrawn. That is a mental health issue. Managers should be able to know how to inquire, to probe, to actually get to the root of this type of issues and not just react to the person's situation, right? Active listening and conflict resolution are very important skills that our managers need to have, because if our managers cannot handle conflict, then HR will have more work to do, because for every issue that could actually be resolved within the team, manager will be escalating to HR. And then the action that we need to take here is to review our policies, right? Take out things that are not aligned with current realities and complexities and replace them with bespoke inputs that would actually help with the current complexities that we have. Yeah, I remember that I actually worked on a revamped bereavement policy, I think in 2022, thereabouts. And the thought process behind that policy was that at the time we experienced consistent bereavements from employees. Some employees lost ones back to back. We analyzed and we saw that, wow, this is too much. Yes, there was a bereavement policy in place that employees can benefit from, but I thought that that policy can actually be better. And then I wrote a policy that gave an additional 10 days bereavement policy, 10 days bereavement leave rather, excuse me, for employees who either lost a parent, a spouse, a child, or a sibling. So the employee would be able to take 10 more days, 10 days of bereavement leave, right? And as the employee is going on that leave, we are giving the employees contact to an EAP partner for continuous engagement. They can have 2 or 3 sessions, right, with the employee, just to help the employee deal with the grief, because I understand that people grieve differently, right? And upon that, there is also a bouquet of fruits that will be delivered to this employee's house for that period. And then when the employee is resuming from that bereavement leave, the employee is not going to be working from 8 to 5. I think for the first 2 weeks, the employee would actually have lesser time to spend at work and more time to spend at home. All of this is in a bid to help the employee reintegrate back to normal life, because we know that grief doesn't go away easily, right? So this is just an example. We can actually look at other policies that are actually rigid or archaic, that are not meeting our current needs, realities, and complexities. Tweak them to actually take care of our current realities and complexities, and we'll see that our employees will react and respond better when we do all of these things. Yes, number 4 on the do, listen with intent. There's a difference between just listening to someone passively and then actively listening with intention. When we are listening with intention, we actually want to listen to the pain points of whoever is speaking, at the same time trying to see how we can help that person, right? Which is what this particular slide is talking about, from talker tick box exercise. So what usually happens in most organizations is that we have annual engagement surveys with no visible follow-up. This is actually an endless loop, becomes a ritual that happens every other year. And it will get to an extent where the employee, when they see that your survey, they will not just respond to it because didn't we respond last year? All of the things that we mentioned last year, how many have they done? The other thing that happens with ticking the box is that feedback actually disappears into a black hole, because that is actually what it is. For instance, I'm an employee, you deployed a survey, right? And I responded, I say that, oh, this organization, oh, we have been working, we work 5 days a week, oh, and then considering the inflation, oh, and then economic hardship, the constant increase in fuel pump price and the resultant effects in how it affects our condition of living. Will it not be good for management to do an upward increment in salary? That was the feedback I gave last year. And then this year, after that last year, nothing was done. You didn't increase salary. You didn't even talk to us that, oh, we heard you. However, we are doing this, we are doing this. The feedback will just be there because nobody has actually done anything with it. And that is ticking the box. We do the survey, we deploy survey every year. Employees will respond, we will not do anything about it. This is not a good practice. We are encouraging us by this session to leave that practice for a more productive practice, which is action-oriented, right? When we implement continuous listening, pulse surveys, stay interviews. So pulse survey, because you call it a pulse survey, so you are conducting the survey to actually feel the pulse of the employees. You want to hear their pain points. And you're not just going to stop at hearing the pain points. You're actually going to do something about it, right? The usual thing that most organizations have is exit interviews. How about stay interview? Stay interviews where you regularly have career conversations with your high performers. You're listening to them. You're not talking now. You're listening to them. You want to know their pain points. You want to know the things you can actually do to help them on the job, to help them achieve their personal and career goals. And in doing all of this, what you are doing is you are buying time, because these guys will actually be stuck with you. Because when they see that you are interested in their life, you are interested in their career, they would rather stay with you than the other person that is just offering them money and not interested in their career, right? Close the loop. Communicate what you heard, and most importantly, what you will do about it. Yes, you've conducted the pulse surveys, you've conducted the stay interviews. Communicate to the employee. Yes, you spoke, we have listened. And after listening, this and this and this and this are the things that we are going to do. For instance, the example I cited about increments in salary because of current economic realities. Yes, we heard about majority of employees complaining about an increase in pay. Management has argued clearly, we are currently working on a revamped compensation framework, and this will be communicated, blah, blah, blah. So this is much better than just receiving the feedback and doing nothing with it. This will even make employees trust us more. And when you deploy pulse surveys again, when they see it, employees would go there to complete it and even forward to their colleagues who might seem too busy and might miss the survey. That have you seen the survey that HC or HR deployed? Please quickly go and respond to it. We are building trust. And when our people trust us more, they stay with us more. And eventually when they leave, they talk about us. They tell people the experience they have with us. Someone said that people will often forget what you say to them, but will never forget how you make them feel. HR from the arts is more about getting personal with people, convincing them that you actually care about them. And not just that you care about them alone. You care about them so that you know that when you care about them, they are inevitably going to bring value to the organization, right? Most times we place demands on employees when we have not even offered them anything. So it is necessary for us as doers to actually sow into the emotional bank account of these employees such that we can always withdraw from them. When you sow so much into an employee's emotional bank account, you can always go there to withdraw at will because you have actually deposited, right? Time is ticking fast now. Okay. Yes, our commitment, the first steps. This quarter, let's commit to being doers. And as we all know, the year is actually running to an end. So we are going to see some of the things that we can actually start doing. We can start from where we are. We don't need to procrastinate till next year. We can actually start now, right? One of the things we can do is revamp one process. Don't start with 5. Don't start with 3. Start with 1. Choose one. For instance, if you want to choose, you can choose onboarding and infuse it with more humanity and warmth. I remember when I left my current organization sometime in 2022 and I returned to the organization, I can still remember what was in the welcome package they gave to me. It was customized and I was happy. I saw chocolates. I saw water bottle. It was writing pad with my name written on it. It was actually delivered to my workstation before I resumed on the day of resumption. That thing touched my heart, right? And I was like, wow, this is beautiful. This is actually a departure from where I was coming because I left for a real estate company here and I know what I saw. Don't let me go into that today. A story for another day. So this one experience touched my heart. Like, okay, so this is actually deliberate. You personalized my welcome pack, right? So we can actually pick one process and infuse it with the touch of humanity and warmth. And you'll be surprised at the ripple effect and the results you get from it. Let's train our managers. We can start by launching a workshop on leading with empathy. Yes, I know that the country we live in can actually make it possible for people to be cold and stone-hearted, to be wicked by default, right? Yes, I can understand. However, we need to be deliberate. You know that it is quite easy to train a child than to change an adult, and which is why we need to meticulously have a workshop with our leaders leading it. This is not just any other workshop where a speaker will just come and then do beautiful presentation. It has to be relational. It has to be practical. So we might need to shop for the perfect match to actually handle this workshop, to let people know, because it's always difficult for people to shift from what they are used to. So we need to deliberately help them to move from that place they were to the place we want them to be. It will help the organization a great deal. Then 3, act on feedback, right? So I know most people on the call, organizations as HC, we must have deployed surveys this year, maybe 1 per quarter. right? Let's go back to those survey reports. Let's pick the top 3 things from those survey. Let's create action teams to address them and communicate timely to employees. With this, we'll see that the next survey that would deploy, there will be more participation. And then the atmosphere in the organization would actually change when employees begin to see the things they spoke about being worked on and being implemented. They would trust the organization more. They would trust HC more. When they meet you on the aisle or at the reception, they'll be able to open up and tell you stuff because they can now see that there is a shift, there is a paradigm shift in the way that HR is doing things now from the way they used to do it before. Yeah, the footnote here says success is a habit, not an act. Let's build this habit together. So if we succeed today, we need to succeed tomorrow. We need to succeed next tomorrow. It's supposed to be an habit. We're not just going to succeed today and then tomorrow we relax on our oasis. Say, we cannot come and kill ourselves. No, we have to consistently be on our toes to succeed. And for us to succeed, we need to continually do these things, right? To get the right results, we need to consistently do the right things. So that means that our last success will be our current enemy because we need to surpass it, right? In conclusion, I think I have about 5 minutes more. So let me quickly wrap this up. In conclusion, the ripple effect. When HR leads from the heart, it creates a ripple effect, really. It creates a ripple effect. Starting from valued employees, employees who feel valued, right? Employees who know that my organization is actually employee-centric. My organization cares about me. My organization is doing something beautiful that is actually speaking to my current need. For instance, we looked at our data and we see that we've had plenty female employees who had gone on maternity leave this year. Can we begin to speak to them and talk to them how we can actually help them, right? Because for a nursing mother, right, the initial period, 4 to 6 months, first 6 months of that child, the mother actually needs to be close to the child. Can we look at having a crèche on site? Can we look at allowing nursing moms to work flexible, maybe 2 days on site, 3 days off site, 3 days on site? Initiatives like this would actually make the employee glued to the organization because you actually care about the employee's welfare. You are not just implementing policies that is not speaking to the need of the employee. Because for a nursing mother, she needs to actually breastfeed her child. She needs to be close to her child. So if you are giving her that avenue to still bond with her child while she's working, she would appreciate it more. And by the time her child is weaned, she will not just pick another offer from another organization and go. And even if she does, she will tell people about the things that the organization has done for her, right? Higher engagement. This type of employee will be engaged. This type of employee cannot be absent-minded. You can't have absenteeism with this type of employee, right? And there's a saying that happy employees would actually serve customers better. So happy employees would actually dovetail into happy customers, right? And we have it here. Your customer service will be better, both internal and external customers. And then we would have stronger business results. Because basically, as HR, we need to be people with great level of business acumen, right? When we understand the direction that our business is facing, when we understand our business needs and goals, that is when we can actually hire the right people, develop the right career development initiatives, training plans, payment structures, and all of these beautiful things that would help the business to achieve its goals. If we do not have any knowledge about our business, how our business makes money, the competitors that our business have, the disadvantage that our business, if we do not know all of these things, we cannot actually support our businesses very well. The next point here is let's challenge ourselves to move beyond the handbook and connect on a human level. Because before all of the nomenclatures, hierarchy, and whatever we have in the workplace, we are first humans. And if we agree that we are humans, let's deal with people as humans. Employees are not robots. They are not aliens. They are actually humans. And when we understand this, we actually deal and treat them better, right? Let's be the function known for these three things: action, empathy, and impact. I'll repeat myself. Let's be that function known for action, empathy, and impact. At every point in time, the things we say need to be in tandem with the things we actually do. We shouldn't be saying things and doing some other things. We shouldn't be telling employees A and we're actually doing B. We lose trust. And then employees sees us as jokers and not serious people. And I know that we do not want to be seen as such, right? Thank you very much. And that's my time. We can have questions, comments, and feedbacks at this point. Thank you very much, Doc. If you're there, that's my time.
Thank you so much, sir.
For having me.
Well done, well done. Excellent presentation, delivery, very insightful. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any quick question, comment, contribution, all you need to do is please raise your hands and we recognize you and yield the floor to you. Also, if you like to drop your questions, thoughts, comments, appreciation in the chat box, you are welcome to do so. Checking to see if there are any hands. I'll wait for 45 seconds just to be sure. I can see the appreciation coming in fast and furious. Okay. All right. So what we'll do, you know how we end all our meetings? We unmute ourselves and we express our gratitude to our facilitator, our teacher, our mentor. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayo Adediran. You can unmute now and just express your appreciation to our facilitator for this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayowa. God bless you. This was very, very insightful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Well done, sir.
Thank you. We appreciate